Ashtatarashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev Ki Jai. Nityam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishmar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishmar Bhakti Bhagyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shishmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nityam Mahabhagavat Shri Gaurkishore Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nityam Shri Satchid Ananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nityam Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Sharda Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Nam Acharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaura Mandal Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund Ki Jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya Ki Jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Shinitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Itadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Prabrajantam Anupetam Apeta Kritam Payano Viraha Katara Ajuhavo Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Bhinedu Stang Sarva Bhuta Hridaya Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskrityam Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Shrinvatang Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridantasto Hyabhadrani Vedhunati Suhritsatam Nashta Prayeshvabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Tavai Vasmi Na Jivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayamam Charanantikam Bhaktya Vihina Aparada Lakshai Kshiptashtakama Ditaranga Madhe Kripa Mai Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charana Ravindam Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today was a bad day for me to start 5 minutes late because we have a lot to get through today. 7,500 words nearly. So, Dandavat pranams Gargaraji, Raseshwari Mataji, Haribo, Bhavatarani Mataji, Nari Hari Prabhu, Dandavat pranams, Kishore Prabhu, Shash Sharmaji, Prajumna Prabhu, Mantra Murti Mataji. Wow, you lectured on Jagannath today. Cool. Yes, Chandan Yatra is coming up. Yes, people worship Jagannath in all different forms. As Nrsimhadev, as Ganesh even. Anyways, that's a whole other topic. All right, so I am late today and we have a lot to read, so I'm just gonna jump right into it. One second. Okay. Actually, maybe let's just read this from here. Okay. So this is just a recap. The story of two girls. There were two friends, Sharmishta and Devayānī, the daughters of the demon king Vrishaparva and the guru of the demons, Shukracharya, respectively. Once after bathing, Sharmishta wore Devayānī's dress unknowingly in haste. Devayānī became furious and harshly reprimanded Sharmishta. You Kshatriyas are inferior to the worshipable Brahmins. Your father is my father's disciple. How dare you wear my clothes? Sharmishta angrily retorted, You beggar Brahmins, you wait at our door for your livelihood like crows. She then took off Devayānī's garments, threw her into a well, and left. Meanwhile, King Yati, the son of Nahusha, who was on an excursion, saw Devayānī in the well and rescued her. Being attracted, they decided upon marrying each other. On the other side, Vrishaparva fell at the feet of aggrieved Shukracharya. He begged forgiveness for Sharmishta's behavior. Ultimately, Devayānī asked Sharmishta to become her maidservant when she married Yayati, and Vrishaparva had to agree. Devayānī eventually gave birth to Yadu, in whose dynasty Lord Krishna would appear, and to Urvasu. Yayati couldn't have proper discrimination against lusts through Sharmishta, and he also fathered Druhu, Anu, and Puru. On account of his infidelity in associating with Sharmishta, Shukracharya cursed Yayati to be disfigured by old age. But eventually, by Shukracharya's mercy, Yayati could exchange his old age for the youth of his good son Puru. After enjoying senses for 1,000 years, Yayati realized the futility of sensual pleasures and his own abominable act. He narrated an instructive story to his wife about their own lives using the example of goats. Thereafter, he returned Puru's youth and enthroned him as the emperor, while the other sons were placed as kings under Puru's control. Hearing her husband's story, Devayānī realized the temporary nature of material relationships, and they both fixed their minds on the Supreme Lord and achieved liberation. All right. Chapter 19. King Yati achieves liberation. This 19th chapter describes how Maharaj Yayati achieved liberation after he recounted the figurative story of the he-goat and she-goat. After many, many years of sexual relationships and enjoyment in the material world, King Yayati finally became disgusted with such material happiness. When satiated with material enjoyment, he devised the story of a he-goat and she-goat corresponding to his own life, and narrated the story before his beloved Devayānī. The story is as follows. Once upon a time, while a goat was searching in a forest for different types of vegetables to eat, by chance he came to a well in which he saw a she-goat. He became attracted to this she-goat and somehow or other delivered her from the well, and thus they were united. One day thereafter, when the she-goat saw the he-goat enjoying sex with another she-goat, she became angry, abandoned the he-goat, and returned to her Brahmin owner, to whom she described her husband's behavior. This isn't a very subtle story. It's it is. The Brahmin became very angry and cursed the he-goat to lose his sexual power. Thereupon, the he-goat begged the Brahmin's pardon and was given back the power for sex. Then the he-goat enjoyed sex with the she-goat for many years, but still he was not satisfied. If one is lusty and greedy, even the total stock of gold in this world cannot satisfy one's lusty desires. These desires are like a fire. One may pour clarified butter into a blazing fire, but one cannot expect the fire to be extinguished. To extinguish such a fire, one must adopt a different process. The Shastra therefore advises that by intelligence, one should renounce the life of enjoyment. Without great endeavor, those with a poor fund of knowledge cannot give up sense enjoyment, especially in relation to sex, because a beautiful woman bewilders even the most learned man. King Yayati, however, renounced worldly life and divided his property among his sons. He personally adopted the life of a mendicant or sannyasi, giving up all attraction to material enjoyment, and engaged himself fully in devotional service to the Lord. Thus he attained perfection. Later, when his beloved wife Devayānī was freed from a mistaken way of life, she also engaged herself in the devotional service of the Lord. One second. Sorry. Okay. Shri Shuka Uvacha Sa itam acharan kaman straino pavnavamatmana. Sorry, okay. Sa itamacharan kaman strainopa navamatmana budva priyaya nirvino gatamitam agayata. Shukadeva said, one second, let me just see. Sarup Manjari Didi there yet, Madhavi Didi. Yes, Haribo Madhavi Didi, Rohit Radhakrishnan Savitri Didi. Dandavat pranams, everybody. All right. Shukadeva Goswami said, O Maharaj Parikshit, Yayati was very much attached to a woman. In due course of time, however, when disgusted with sexual enjoyment and its bad effects, he renounced this way of life and narrated the following story to his beloved wife. Shrinu Bhargavyamun Gatang Marvidat Charitam Bhuvi Dhira Yasyanusho Vanigrama Nivasina. My dearly beloved wife, daughter of Shukracharya, in this world there was someone exactly like me. Please listen as I narrate the history of his life. By hearing about the life of such a householder, those who have retired from householder life always lament. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Persons who live in the village or town are called Grama Nivasi, and those who live in the forest are called Vanavasi, or Vanaprastha. The Vanaprasthas have retired from family life. The Vanaprasthas who have retired from family life generally lament about their past family life because it engaged them in trying to fulfill lusty desires. Prahlad Maharaj said that one should retire from family life as soon as possible, and he described family life as the darkest well, hidvapa patam grihamanda kupam. If one continuously or permanently concentrates on living with his family, he should be understood to be killing himself. In the Vedic civilization, therefore, it is recommended that one retire from family life at the end of his 50th year and go to the vana, the forest. When he becomes expert or accustomed to forest life or retired life as a vanaprastha, he should accept sannyas. Vanam gato yad dharmashrayata. Sannyas means accepting unalloyed engagement in the service of the Lord. Vedic civilization therefore recommends 4 different stages of life: brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. One should be very much ashamed of remaining a householder and not promoting oneself to the 2 higher stages, namely vanaprastha and sannyas. Basta eko vane kaschir vechinvan priyamatmana tadarsha kupe patitang swakarma vashagam ajam. While wandering in the forest, eating to satisfy his senses, a he-goat by chance approached a well, in which he saw a she-goat standing helplessly, having fallen into it by the influence of the results of fruitive activities. Purport. Here, Maharaj Yayati compares himself to a he-goat and Devayānī to a she-goat, and describes the nature of man and woman. Like a he-goat, a man searches for sense gratification, wandering here and there, and a woman, without the shelter of a man or husband, is like a she-goat that has fallen into a well. Without being cared for by a man, a woman cannot be happy. Indeed, she is just like a she-goat that has fallen into a well and is struggling existence. Therefore, a woman must take shelter of her father, as Devayānī did when under the care of Shukracharya, and then the father must give the daughter in charity to a suitable man, or a suitable man should help the woman by placing her under the care of a husband. This is shown vividly by the life of Devayānī. When King Yayati delivered Devayānī from the well, she felt great relief and requested Yati to accept her as his wife. But when Maharaj Yayati accepted Devayānī, he became too attached and had sex life not only with her, but with others like Sharmishta. Yet still he was dissatisfied. Therefore, one should retire by force from such family life as Yayati's. When one is fully convinced of the degrading nature of worldly family, one should completely renounce this way of life, take sannyas, and engage himself fully in the service of the Lord. Then one's life will be successful. Tasya Udharanopayam pastakami vichintayam vyadhata tirtamudhritya vishana grena. After planning how to get the she-goat out of the well, the lusty he-goat dug up the earth on the well's edge with the point of his horns in such a way that she was able to come out very easily. Purport. Attraction for a woman is the impetus for economic development, housing, and many other things meant for living comfortably in this material world. Digging up the earth to make a way out for the she-goat was a laborious task. Before accepting the she-goat, the he-goat underwent this labor. Aho grita kshetra sutapta vitar janasya mohoyam aham mameti. The union between male and female provides the impetus for gaining a nice apartment, a good income, children, and friends. Thus one becomes entangled in this material world. Sotirya kupata sushroni tameva chakame kila dayavritam samudvikshya bhavyo ja kantakamina. Pivanam shma shulam prishtam medvasam lyabako vidam sa eko ja vrishastasam bhavinam rativardana reme kama graha grasta yatmanam navabhudyata. When the she-goat who had very nice hips, this goat with nice hips, got out of the well and saw the very handsome he-goat, she desired to accept him as her husband. When she did so, many other she-goats also desired him as their husband because he had a very beautiful bodily structure and a nice mustache and beard, and was an expert in discharging semen and in the art of sexual intercourse. Therefore, just as a person haunted by a ghost exhibits madness, the best of the he-goats, attracted by the many she-goats, engaged in erotic activities and naturally forgot his real business of self-realization. A handsome he-goat with a mustache. This is pretty much exactly his story, like without any changes, except that he changed his name to a he-goat and her name to a she-goat. Doesn't it seem like that? Purport. Materialists are certainly very much attracted by sexual intercourse. Yan maitunadi grihamedi sukam hitucham. Although one becomes a grihasta, or householder, to enjoy sex life to his heart's content, one is never satisfied. Such a lusty materialist is like a goat, for it is said that if goats meant for slaughter get the opportunity, they enjoy sex before getting killed. Human beings, however, are meant for self-realization. Abode divyam putraka yena satvam shuddhedyasmad brahma sukyam tvanantam. Human life is meant for realization of the self. Human life is meant for realization of the self, the spirit soul within the body. Dehinosminyata dehe. A materialistic rascal does not know that he is not the body, but a spiritual soul within the body. However, one should understand his real position and cultivate knowledge by which to get freed from bodily entanglement. Just like an unfortunate person who acts madly, haunted by ghosts, a materialist haunted by the ghost of lust forgets his real business so that he can enjoy. He forgets his real business so that he can enjoy so-called happiness in the bodily concept of life. Sorry, I messed up reading that. Tam eva preshtatmaya ramamanam ajanyaya vilokya kupasangvigna namrishyad pastakarmatat. When the she-goat who had fallen into the well saw her beloved goat engaged in sexual affairs with another she-goat, she could not tolerate the goat's activities. Tangdur hridam suhridurupam kaminam kshana sohridam indriyaramanutsrija utsrijya swaminam dukhitayo. Aggrieved by her husband's behavior with another, the she-goat thought that the he-goat was not actually her friend, but was hard-hearted and was her friend only for the time being. Therefore, because her husband was lusty, she left him and returned to her former maintainer. Purport. The word swaminam is significant. Swami means caretaker or master. Devayānī was cared for by Shukracharya before her marriage, and after her marriage she was cared for by Yayati. But here the word swaminam indicates that Devayānī left the protection of her husband Yayati and returns to her former protector, Shukracharya. Vedic civilization recommends that a woman stay under the protection of a man. During childhood, she should be cared for by her father, in youth by her husband, and in old age by a grown son. In any stage of life, a woman should not have independence. Sopi chanugatastraina kripanastang prasaditum kurvan ida vidakaram nashaknot patisandhitum. Being very sorry, the he-goat, who was subservient to his wife, followed the she-goat on the road and tried his best to flatter her, but he could not pacify her. Tasya tatra dija kaschid aja swamyachina rusha lambhantam vrishanam bhuya sandadhertaya yogavit. The she-goat went to the residence of a Brahmin who was the maintainer of another she-goat, and that Brahmin angrily cut off the he-goat's dangling testicles. But at the he-goat's request, the Brahmin later rejoins them by the power of mystic yoga. Purport. Here Shukracharya is figuratively there's a grammatical mistake. Figuratively described as the husband of another. Oh my God, what the heck is wrong with my reading right now? There's no problem here. Here, Shukracharya is figuratively described as the husband of another she-goat. This indicates that the relationship between husband and wife in any society, whether higher or lower than human society, is nothing but the same relationship between he-goat and she-goat. For the material relationship between man and woman is one of sex. Yanmaitunadi grihamedi sukam hitucham. Shukracharya was an acharya, or expert in family affairs, which involved the transfer of semen from he-goat to she-goat. The words Kashchid Aja Swami expressly indicate herein that Shukracharya was no better than Yayati, for both of them were interested in family affairs generated by Shukra, or semen. Shukracharya first cursed Yayati to become old so that he could no longer indulge in sex. But when Shukracharya saw that Yayati's emasculation would make his own daughter a victim of punishment, he used his mystic power to restore Yayati's masculinity. Because he used his power of mystic yoga for family affairs and not to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this exercise in the magic of yoga was no better than the affairs of he-goats and she-goats. Yogic power should properly be used to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the Lord himself recommends in Bhagavad-Gita 6:47. Yoginam apisarvesham markatenantaratmana shraddhavam bhajate yomam same yukta tamomata. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. Sampadha vrana sopi hyajaya kupalabdhaya kalam bahutitam bhadre kamar nadyapitushati. My dear wife, when the he-goat had his testicles restored, he enjoyed the she-goats he had gotten from the well. But although he continued to enjoy for many, many years, even now he has not been fully satisfied. Purport. When one is bound by affection for one's wife, one is attached to sexual desires that are very difficult to overcome. Therefore, according to Vedic civilization, one must voluntarily leave his so-called home and go to the forest. Pancha shordvam vanam vrajet. Human life is meant for such tapasya, or austerity. By the austerity of voluntarily stopping sex life at home and going to the forest to engage in spiritual activities and the association of devotees, one achieves the actual purpose of human life. Tataham kripana subhru bhavatya prema yantrita atmanam na vijanami mohitastavam. O my dear wife with beautiful eyebrows, I am exactly like the he-goat, for I am so poor in intelligence that I'm captivated by your beauty and have forgotten the real task of self-realization. Purport. If one remains a victim of the so-called beauty of his wife, his family life is nothing but a dark well. Hidvatma patam grihamanda kupam. Existence in such a dark well is certainly suicidal. If one wants relief from the miserable condition of material life, one must voluntarily give up his lusty relationship with his wife. Otherwise, there is no question of self-realization. Unless one is extremely advanced in spiritual consciousness, household life is nothing but a dark well in which one commits suicide. Prahlad Maharaj therefore recommended that in due time, at least after one's 50th year, one must give up household life and go to the forest. Vanam gato yad dharmashrayeta. There, one should seek shelter at the lotus feet of Hari. Yat prithvivyam vrihiyavam hiranyam pashavastriya na duhyanti mana pritim pungsa kama hatasyate. A person who is lusty cannot satisfy his mind even if he has enough of everything in this world, including rice, barley, and other food grains, gold, animals, and women. Nothing can satisfy him. Purport. Improvement of one's economic condition is the aim object of a materialist, but there is no need to end this material advancement. For if one cannot control his lusty desires, he will never be pleased, even if he gets all the material wealth of the world. In this age, we see much material improvement, but still, people are struggling to get more and more material opulence. Mana shashtanindriyani prakriti stani karshati. Although every living entity is a part of the Supreme Being, because of lusty desires, one continuously struggles for so-called betterment of one's economic condition. To have a satisfied mind, one must give up his heart disease of lusty desires. This can be done only when one is Krishna conscious. Bhaktim param bhagavati pratilabhya kamam hridrogam apahinoti achirena dhira. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10:3-39. If one becomes Krishna conscious, then he can give up this heart disease. Otherwise, this disease of lusty desires will continue, and one cannot have peace in his mind. Najatu kama kamanam upabhogena shangyati Havisha Krishna Vartmeva Bhuya Eva Bhivardate. As supplying butter to a fire does not diminish the fire, but instead increases it more and more, the endeavor to stop lusty desires by continual enjoyment can never be successful. In fact, one must voluntarily cease from material desires. This is such an important shloka. This is actually, this is a famous shloka, but it's such a good one because I just think of chocolate. Like, if I haven't had chocolate for a really long time, then I don't really desire it so much. But once I've had a piece, then I want it again and again and again. So, yeah, eating chocolate doesn't diminish my desire for chocolate, but it actually increases it so that I want more and more. Just like putting ghee on a fire doesn't put out the fire, it increases the fire. Purport. One may have enough money and enough resources to satisfy the senses, but still not be satisfied. For the endeavor to stop lusty desires by enjoying can never be successful. The example given here is very appropriate. One cannot stop a blazing fire by trying to extinguish it with butter. Except, if there's a little fire and you dump like a huge bucket of ghee on it, that would put out the fire. And I guess in a way, if you enjoy way too much, then you start getting sick of enjoying, right? Like if I ate way too much chocolate, then I wouldn't want to eat it ever again. For a while at least. I don't know, maybe that's... Okay. Yada na kurute bhavam sarvabhuteshvamangalam samadrishtes tada pungsa sarva sukha maya disha. When a man is not envious and does not desire ill fortune for anyone, he is equipoised. For such a person, all directions appear happy. Purport. Prabodhananda Saraswati said, Vishvam Purna Sukhayate. When one becomes Krishna conscious by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, for him the entire world appears happy, and he has nothing for which to hanker. On the Brahmaputra stage, or the platform of spiritual realization, there is no lamentation and no material hankering, na shochati, na kangshati. As long as one lives in the material world, actions and reactions will continue. But when one is unaffected by such material actions and reactions, he is to be considered free from the danger of being victimized by material desires. Those who are satiated with lusty desires are described in this verse. As explained by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, when one is envious even of his enemy, does not expect honor from anyone, but instead desires all well-being even for his enemy, he is understood to be a Paramahamsa, one who has fully subdued the lusty desires for sense gratification. Yadushjaja durmati bhirjiryato ya najiryate tam trishnam tukanivaham sharma kama drutam tyajet. For those who are too attached to material enjoyment, sense gratification is very difficult to give up. Even when one is an invalid because of old age, one cannot give up such desires for sense gratification. Therefore, one who actually desires happiness must give up such unsatisfied desires, which are the cause of all tribulations. Purport. We have already seen, especially in the Western countries, that men who have reached more than 80 years of age still go to nightclubs and pay heavy fees to drink wine and associate with women. Although such men are too old to enjoy anything, their desires have not ceased. Time deteriorates even the body itself, which is the medium for all sensual satisfaction. But even when a man becomes old and invalid, right? Or invalid? No, invalid. His desires are strong enough to dictate that he go here and there to satisfy the desires of his senses. Therefore, by practice of bhakti yoga, one should give up his lusty desires, as explained by Sri Yamunacharya. Yada mama cheta krishna padaravinde Nava nava rasa dhaman yudatam rantumasit. Tadavadi batinari sangame smaryamane bhavati mukha vikara shushtu nishti vanam cha. When one is when one is Krishna conscious, he gets more and more happiness by discharging duties for Krishna. Such a person spits on sense gratification, especially that of sexual enjoyment. An experienced advanced devotee is no longer interested in sex life. The strong desire for sex can be subdued only by advancement in Krishna consciousness. Matra swasra duhitrava na vivikta sano bhavet balavan indriya gramo vidvangsam apikarshati. One should not allow oneself to sit on the same seat, even with one's own mother, sister, or daughter, for the senses are so strong that even though one is very advanced in knowledge, he may be attracted by sex. Purport. Learning the etiquette of how to deal with women does not free one from sexual attraction. As specifically mentioned herewith, such attraction is possible even with one's mother, sister, or daughter. Generally, of course, one is not sexually attracted to his mother, sister, or daughter, but if one allows himself to sit very close to such women, one may be attracted. This is a psychological fact. It may be said that one is liable to be attracted if he is not very advanced in civilized life. However, as specifically mentioned here, vidvangsam api karshati. Even if one is highly advanced, materially or spiritually, he may be attracted by lusty desires. The object of attraction may even be one's mother, sister, or daughter. Therefore, one should be extremely careful in dealings with women. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was most strict in such dealings, especially after he accepted the sannyas order. Indeed, no woman could come near him to offer him respect. Again, one is warned herewith that one should be extremely careful in dealings with women. A brahmachari is forbidden even to see the wife of his spiritual master if she happens to be young. The wife of the spiritual master may sometimes take some service from the disciple of her husband, as she would from a son. But if the wife of the spiritual master is young, a brahmachari is forbidden to render service to her. Purnam varshas sahasrang me vishayan sevato sakrit tatapi chanusavanam trishna teshu pajayate. I have spent a full 1,000 years enjoying sense gratification, yet my desire to enjoy such pleasure increases daily. Purport. Maharaj Yayati is explaining in terms of his actual experience how strong are sexual desires even in old age. Tasmaditam ahang tyaktva brahmanyadhyayamanasam nirdvandvo nirahankarash charishyami mrigai saha. Therefore, I shall now give up all of these desires and meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Free from the dualities of mental concoction and free from false prestige, I shall wander in the forest with the animals. Purport. To go to the forest and live there with the animals, meditating upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the only means by which to give up lusty desires. Unless one gives up such desires, one's mind cannot be freed from mental contamination. Therefore, if one is at all interested in being freed from the bondage of repeated birth, death, old age, and disease, after a certain age, one must go to the forest. Panchashordvam vanam vrajet. After 50 years of age, one should voluntarily give up family life and go to the forest. The best forest is Vrindavan, where one need not live with the animals but can associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead who never leaves Vrindavan. Cultivating Krishna consciousness in Vrindavan is the best means of being liberated from material bondage, for in Vrindavan, one could automatically meditate upon Krishna. Vrindavan has many temples, and in one or more of these temples, one may see the form of the Supreme Lord as Radha Krishna, or Krishna Balaram, and meditate upon this form. As expressed here by the words Brahmanyadhyaya, One should concentrate one's mind upon the Supreme Lord, Para Brahman. This Para Brahman is Krishna, as confirmed by Arjuna in Bhagavad-Gita. Param Brahma Param Dhama Pavitram Paramam Bhavam. Krishna and his abode Vrindavan are not different. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Aradhyo Bhagavan Vajashatanayasta Dhama Vrindavanam. Vrindavan is as good as Krishna. Therefore, if one somehow or other gets the opportunity to live in Vrindavan, and if one is not a pretender but simply lives in Vrindavan and concentrates his mind upon Krishna, one is liberated from material bondage. One's mind is not purified, however, even in Vrindavan, if one is agitated by lusty desires. One should not live in Vrindavan and commit offenses, for a life of offenses in Vrindavan is no better than the lives of the monkeys and hogs there. Many monkeys and hogs live in Vrindavan, and they are concerned with their sexual desires. Men who have gone to Vrindavan but still for sex should immediately leave Vrindavan and stop their grievous offenses at the lotus feet of the Lord. There are many misguided men who live in Vrindavan to satisfy their sexual desires, but they are certainly no better than the monkeys and hogs. Those who are under the control of Maya, and specifically under the control of lusty desires, are called Maya Mriga. Indeed, everyone in the conditional stage of material life is a Maya Mriga. It is said, Maya Mrigam Daitayepsitam Anvadhavad. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas to show his causeless mercy to the Maya Mrigas, the people of this world, material world, who suffer because of lusty desires. Follow the principles of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and always think of Krishna and full Krishna consciousness. Then one will be eligible to live in Vrindavan and his life will be successful. What verse are we reading up to? Let me just see. I mean, we're finishing this chapter, but okay, 29. Oh my God. Let's see if we can make it. Drishtam shrutam asar bhudva nanudhyayena sandishet sangsrishtim chatmanasham cha tatra vidvansa atmadrik. One who knows that material happiness, whether good or bad, in this life or in the next, on this planet or in the heavenly planet, is temporary and useless. So one who knows that material life in this life or the next or in the heavenly planets, anywhere, that this material happiness is temporary and useless, and that an intelligent person should not try to enjoy or even think of such things, that person is the knower of the self. Such a self-realized person knows quite well that material happiness is the very cause of continued material existence and forgetfulness of one's own constitutional position. Purport: the living entity is a spirit soul, and the material body is his engagement. This is the beginning of spiritual understanding. Dehi nosme nita dehe komaram yovanam jara tatara praptir dhirastatra namuhyati. As the embodied soul continually passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. The self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. Bhagavad-Gita 2:13. The real mission of human life is to get free from the engagement in the material body. Therefore, Krishna descends to teach the conditioned soul about spiritual realization and how to become free from material bondage. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. The words dharmasya glani mean pollution of one's existence. Our existence is now polluted and it must be purified. Sattvam shuddhyet. The human life is meant for this purification, not for thinking of happiness in terms of the external body, which is the cause of material bondage. Therefore, in this verse, Maharaj Yati advises that whatever material happiness we see and whatever is promised for enjoyment is all merely flickering and temporary. Abrahma bhuvana loka punar avartinorjuna. Even if one is promoted to Brahma Loka, if one is not freed from material bondage, one must return to this planet Earth and continue in the miserable condition of material existence. Bhutva bhutva praliyate. One should always keep this understanding in mind so as not to be allured by any kind of sense enjoyment in this life or in the next. One who is fully aware of this truth is self-realized, sa atmadrik. But aside from him, everyone suffers in the cycle of birth and death, mrityu sangsara vartmani. This understanding is one of true intelligence, and anything contrary to this is but a cause of unhappiness. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Attaiva Shanta. We're going to learn that shloka in our Rupa Shiksha program. Only a Krishna conscious person who knows the aim and object of life is peaceful. All others, whether karmis, jnanis, or yogis, are restless and cannot enjoy real peace. Bhukti mukti siddhikami sakali ashanta. Ityuktva nahusho jayam tadiyam puravevaya datva sajarasam tasmad adadhe vigata spriha. Shukadeva Goswami said, after speaking in this way to his wife, Devayānī, King Yayati, who was now free from all material desires, called his youngest son Puru and returned Puru's youth in exchange for his own old age. Deshi dakshina purasyam druhyum dakshinato yadum praticham turvasum chakra udicham anumishvaram. King Yati gave the southeast to his son Druhyu, the south to his son Yadu, the west to his son Turvasu, and the north to his son Anu. In this way he divided the kingdom. What about Puru? What did Puru get? Bhumandalasya sarvasya. Okay. Purum arhatamang vishan abhishitya grajangstasya vashestapya vanam yayo. Yayati enthroned his youngest son Puru as the emperor of the entire world and the proprietor of all its riches. And he placed all the other sons, who were older than Puru, under Puru's control. Okay. Oops. I didn't mean to click there. Stop. Whatever. Okay. Asevitam varsha pugan sharvargam vishayeshu sa kshanena mumuche nidam jata paksha ivadvija. Having enjoyed sense gratification for many, many years, O King Parikshit, Yayati was accustomed to it, but he gave it up entirely in a moment, just like a bird flies away from the nest as soon as its wings have grown. Purport. That Maharaj Yayati was immediately liberated from the bondage in life is certainly astonishing, but the example given herewith is appropriate. A tiny baby bird, dependent fully on its father and mother, even to eat, suddenly flies away from the nest when its wings have grown. Similarly, if one fully surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is immediately liberated from the bondage of conditioned life, as promised by the Lord himself, Ahang Tong Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishami. As stated in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 2.4.18, Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhira Shumbha Yavana Kasadaya Yenye Chapapa Yarapashrayashraya Shuddhanti Tasmai Prabhavishnave Nama. Kirata Huna Andhra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhira Shumbha Yavana and the Kasa races, and even others addicted to sinful acts, can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, for he is the supreme power. I beg to offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Lord Vishnu is so powerful that he can deliver anyone at once if he is pleased to do so. And Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, can be pleased immediately if we accept his order by surrendering unto him, as Maharaj Yayati did. Maharaj Yayati was eager to serve Vasudeva Krishna, and therefore, as soon as he wanted to renounce material life, Lord Vasudeva helped him. We must therefore be very sincere in surrendering ourselves unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Then we can immediately be liberated from all the bondage of conditioned life. This is clearly expressed in the next verse. Satatra nirmukta samasta sangha atmanubhutya viduta trilinga pare male brahmani vasudeve lebhe gatim bhagavatim pratita. Because King Yayati completely surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva, he was freed from all contamination of the material modes of nature. Because of his self-realization, he was able to fix his mind upon the transcendence, Para Brahman Vasudeva, and thus he ultimately achieved the position of an associate of the Lord. Purport. The word vituta, meaning cleansed, is very significant. Everyone in this material world is contaminated. Karanam guna sangosya. Because we are in a material condition, we are contaminated either by sattvagun, by rajagun, or by tamagun. Even if one becomes a qualified Brahman in the mode of goodness, sattvagun, he is still materially contaminated. One must come to the platform of Shuddha Sattva, transcending the Sattva gun. Then one is Vidutta Trilinga, cleansed of the contamination caused by the three modes of material nature. This is possible by the mercy of Krishna, as stated in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.2.17. Shrindvata swakata Krishna, punya shavana kirtana, radantasto hyabhadrani, vidhunoti suhritsatam. Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, Supersoul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. A person trying to be perfectly Krishna conscious by hearing the words of Krishna from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or from Bhagavad-Gita certainly has all the dirty things cleansed from the core of his heart. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also says, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. The process of hearing and chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord washes away the dirty things accumulated in the core of the heart. As soon as one is freed from all of the dirt of a material contamination, as Maharaj Yayati was, one's original position as an associate to the Lord is revealed. This is called, I think it's saying Siddhi. Vastu Siddhi. No. Let's see if it says it. Hey, what happened? Oh my God. Anyways, this is called, there. It's missing here also. Anyways, I think it says Siddhi. Personal perfection. Shutva gatam devayānī mene prasto bhamatmana stri pungso sneha vaiklavyat parihasam iveritam. When Devayānī heard Maharaj Yayati's story of the he-goat and she-goat, she understood that this story, which was presented as if a funny joke for entertainment between husband and wife, was intended to awaken her to her constitutional position. Purport. When one actually awakens from material life, one understands his real position as an eternal servant of Krishna. This is called liberation. Muktir hitvanyata rupam Sarupena Vivastitihi. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 2.10.6. Under the influence of Maya, everyone living in this material world thinks that he is the master of everything. Ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate. One thinks that there is no God or controller, and that one is independent and can do anything. This is the material condition, and when one awakens from this ignorance, he is called liberated. Maharaj Yati had delivered Devayānī from the well, and finally, as a dutiful husband, he instructed her with the story about the he-goat and she-goat, and thus delivered her from the misconception of material happiness. Devayānī was quite competent to understand her liberated husband, and therefore she decided to follow him as his faithful wife. Tasannivasam suhridam prapayam iva gachatam Vigyayeshvaratantranam Maya Virachitam Prabho Swapno. Oh, oops. 1 second. Sarvatra Sangamutsrijas Swapno Pamyena Bhargavi Krishne Mana Samavesha Vyadhuno lingamatmana. Thereafter, Devayānī, the daughter of Shukracharya, understood that the materialistic association of husband, friends, and relatives is like the association in a hotel full of tourists. The relationships of society, friendship, and love are created by the Maya of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, exactly as in a dream. By the grace of Krishna, Devayānī gave up her imaginary position in the material world, completely fixing her mind upon Krishna, she achieved liberation from the gross and subtle bodies. Purport. One should be convinced he is a spirit soul, part and parcel of the Supreme Brahman Krishna, but has somehow or other been entrapped by the material coverings of the gross and subtle bodies, consisting of earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. One should know that the association of society, friendship, love, nationalism, religion, and so on are nothing but creations of Maya. One's only business is to become Krishna conscious and render service unto Krishna as extensively as possible for a living being. In this way, one is liberated from material bondage. By the grace of Krishna, Devayānī attained this state through the instructions of her husband. Okay, now this is the last verse we're ending with. Namastubhyam Bhagavate Vasudevaya Vedase Sarvabhuta Divasaya Shantaya Brihate Nama. O Lord Vasudev, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, you are the creator of the entire cosmic manifestation. You live as a supersoul in everyone's heart and are smaller than the smallest, yet you are greater than the greatest and are all-pervading. You appear completely silent, having nothing to do, but this is due to your all-pervading nature and your fullness in all opulences. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. How Devayānī became self-realized by the grace of her great husband, Maharaj Yayati, is described here. Describing such realization is another way of performing the bhakti process. Shravanam kirtanam Vishnu, smaranam padasevanam, archanam vandanam dasyam, sakyam atma nivedanam. Hearing and chanting about the transcendental holy name, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes of Lord Vishnu, remembering them, serving the lotus feet to the Lord, offering the Lord respectful worship, offering prayers to the Lord, becoming his servant, considering the Lord one's best friend, and surrendering everything unto him. These 9 processes are accepted as pure devotional service. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 7.5.23. Shravanam Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, are especially important. By hearing from her husband about the greatness of Lord Vasudeva, Devayānī certainly became convinced and surrendered herself unto the lotus feet of the Lord. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is knowledge. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavangmam prapadyate. Surrender to Vasudeva is the result of hearing about him for many, many births. As soon as one surrenders unto Vasudeva, one is liberated immediately. Because of her association with her great husband, Maharaj Yati, Devayānī became purified, adopted the means of bhakti yoga, and thus became liberated. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 9th canto, 19th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled King Yayati Achieves Liberation. So let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 more days left of the 9th canto, and then we'll completed the 9th canto. Only 5 days, wow. No, sorry, 6 days. We'll be finished in 6 days. So tomorrow, now we completed tomorrow we will read about the dynasty of Puru, the lineage of King Puru, the story of Dushmanta and Shakuntala, that's my sister's name, Shakuntala. Then the glories and activities of King Bharat, and the story of Bharadwaj, that's all tomorrow. Right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shmar Bhaktivedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shri Gurudev Ki Jai Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shmar Bhaktivedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shmar Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shmar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitila Pravishtam Vishnupad Rashata Rashata Shmar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitila Pravishta Maha-Bhagavat Shri Goksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nitila Pravishta Shri Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nitila Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopalat Bhatta Dashagunath Shar Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai Nahamacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaura Mandala Braja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Sarva Abhishta Bharata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund Ki Jai Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Vrindaya Tulsi Devaya Priyaya Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Padadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyayivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams, dear devotees. Oh, Haribo Anandini Didi. Prajuna Prabhu, what is this? Okay, is there any difference between bhakti and sharanagati? Yes, definitely. Yes, like Rup Manjari's Didi saying, it's the doorway to bhakti. It's not actually, it's just the entrance into bhakti. Hi, Dandavat Pranams everybody. See you all tomorrow. Hari Bol. Oh, and tomorrow is the big day, which I haven't, it's going to be the beginning of our Rupa Shiksha program. And, oh God, I haven't actually prepared hardly anything for I'm supposed to be posting a video tomorrow and also sending out the first email on the mailing list. And we'll go over the first 2 shlokas of the thing. But I haven't prepared anything yet today. And today's also going to be a busy day, so with other things. And so let's see how it goes. But no, we're going to start on Akshaya Tritiya. But then after Akshaya Tritiya, every official day, like you've probably seen the video already, or read what I wrote. But yeah, every Thursday I'm going to put out a video. Every Friday I'm going to send out an article, sending with quotes of our acharyas and just things about the verse that we have to learn. And then 2 days after that, on Sunday, then everybody will have a chance to recite the shloka. And we're going to go at a very slow pace. I think I already showed you this, right? I'm going to show you again, just in case I didn't. So this is how slow our pace is going to be. So it shouldn't be too difficult for anybody to keep up. Let's see. What is it? vineofdevotion.com. All right. So there's week 1. We're just going to go over this. Para para shunya gabir bhakti rasa sindhu, tomai chakaite tar kahi eka bindu. And it's so easy to these verses are so short and so easy to understand. Bengali is so much easier than Sanskrit. I kept the same word order in the translation. So, para shunya, shoreless. Gobir, deep, is the Bhakti Rasa Sindhu, is the ocean of Bhakti Ras. Tomai, to give you, chakaite, a taste, tar, of it. Kahi, I am describing, Kahi, I am describing. Eka, one, bindu, drop. See, I kept the exact same word order. And so it's very easy to, and I'll explain it more clearly, But then that's all you have to do for 1 week. That's all you have to memorize. Week 2, we're going to have to memorize 2 verses, but they're also really easy. Emata brahmanda pari ananta jivagan. And then, so I'm going to have to write an article. Oh, shoot. Anyways, so I'm going to have to write an article about our insignificance. And then, all the things that are in a box here. Finding peace. I'm going to have to write an article on this. Hey, we just went over this verse today in one of Srila Prabhupada's purports. Krishna Bhakta Nishkam Atta Eva Shanta. Bhakti Mukti Siddhikami Sakali Ashanta. Then, so like that. And if for some reason you're too shy to say the shloka in front of anybody, but the group is going to be really small. Already, so far only like 20 people have joined. It's not that many people have joined the mailing list. And that's just joining the mailing list. That doesn't mean that they're joining the shloka group. That's just the mailing list. So I think every Sunday it's not going to be that many people, so you won't have to feel shy saying the verse in front of anybody. But if you're also not able to make it, then you can also just send it to me personally, your recitation of the shloka and explaining the words. So I look forward to doing that with all of you. And if you don't want to join the shloka part, you could also just follow along, watch the videos, be on the mailing list. After we finish the shloka program, it's going to end. This is a program leading up to Rupa Goswami's disappearance day. So it's the 14 weeks leading up to that. After that, I don't know what I'm going to do. I might just start focusing on, maybe we'll finish the second half of Rupa Shiksha, or maybe we'll take a break from that, and maybe we could go through different topics, like what does sadhu sangha really mean? What is real humility? Like just different devotional topics like that. Sometime I'd love to do Madhurya Kadambini. Actually, that's what I would really like to do eventually, is start a real study group for different books, like go into Madhurya Kadambini and make charts, try to capture all the points, memorize the main shlokas that are quoted, and I don't know, just get really deep into it, like in Madhurya Kadambini and other books also. Like right now at the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam program, we're just reading. It's not much of a study, we're just reading through it. And it's good, we're able to get through going to be finished soon with the 9th canto, we're going to be starting, so it's, but I would like to do like a really nice slow study thing and it's more interactive. Right now I'm just kind of speaking to you and you write comments and that's really nice, but it'd be nice for it to be more interactive. So I think that's what I want to do with the future of this channel, but we'll see what happens. So if you haven't already, you can go to vineofdevotion.com and subscribe there. And hopefully I don't get this video out too late tomorrow. It takes only a couple minutes to say all the Rupa Shiksha verses also. So that will make it a lot easier. If you just recite all the verses every day, just before you do anything, before you eat breakfast, just take 2 minutes to recite all the verses, and then automatically, without even trying, you'll start to memorize them. Or it'll make it a lot easier once you do come to the verse and have to memorize it. So, all right, Haribol. Dandavat pranams, everybody. Haribol, Rohit Radha Krishna ji. I look forward to doing this with you. Haribol.